All right, I've been playing Of Gods and Mortals for a little while now. Really enjoyed the game. The problem I had with it, and my friends did too, was the combat system. So I've modified the combat system, and what I'm going to show you today is the combat system we use in this game. It doesn't change the odds on like turn to stone or hammering blow or anything like that, but I don't know, it seems a little more fun and not so mathy of plus this, minus this, and all this, and okay, my number is +6 that I add to, okay. It's a little, for us it's easier this way. So I'm going to show you what we do. So the first thing I want to do is, how do you figure how many dice you're going to roll? Because in the original game, you rolled 1 die. So you take your 1 die, you take your modifiers, which would be, let me get to here. So maybe you've got the Hydra, so you'd add 4. So you'd roll this, add 4, plus whatever modifiers you have, or minus modifiers until you get your total and the opponent's doing the same thing. Well, what this number means now is that's how many dice you're going to start off with, which would be 4. So if we did Cerberus, he's only going to start with 3 dice. So let me get out the Hydra here. So here's the Hydra, and he's going to take on a couple of Spartans. So I want to get about 3 Spartans out here. So we're going to show you how combat's going to work with him. So he's a combat level 4. The Spartans are a combat level 3. So I'm just going to move these out here. So there we go. So the Hydra gets 4, and they get 3. That's the start of the dice pool for their combat value. Now we go to modifiers. So I'm going to go to the back of the book here. And if we look at modifiers for melee, if I can find it, here it is. Okay, so let's just go through it. Outnumbering says +1. Well, the Hydra counts as 4. This counts as 3. So the Hydra outnumbers them. So what +1 means is it gets another die. So a plus modifier is gain a die. So let's go through the rest of this. We got greatly outnumbered more. No. He didn't aim or anything. The only other thing he's a large creature, attacking smaller creatures. So he gets another +1. So that's what the dice pool. So it's pretty simple. I start off with, I have a 4. I outnumber you. I'm larger than you. That's why we like the math in this. It's so much easier. So we roll this, and what you're looking for are 4s. Oh my gosh, the Hydra could not miss. And they got 2 successes. Wow, this is kind of, normally doesn't happen. So what happens is you take the amount of successes from each side and they cancel each other. So now you're left with this. Then this is for, that was the 2-hit roll. This is for damage. So you need a 4 or higher on these to do damage, and the Hydra, well, Hydra did nothing. So they actually bounce back. So let me go through that again. So they start with 3, Hydra starts with 4, it's outnumbered, it's larger. It's going to roll, they're going to roll, they got 2 successes, the Hydra got 4, these 2, so the Hydra won because it's got more successes than they did, that's going to cancel that out, he's going to roll for damage, and he kills 1 because he got 1 that was 4 or higher. That's how our combat system works. Now, I want to run into with range attack. Is there something a little different with range attack? So we're going to pretend like he has a range attack. So there's what we start with. Let me get rid of those dice. Let's go to modifiers for a range attack, which would be right here. If I can get it to stop folding on me. Target is behind cover in woods. We're going to say they're behind some woods and stuff, or in the woods, so it's a little harder for the Hydra to hit them. This says -1. You never take dice away. That -1 means instead of him losing a die, they gain a die. So they gain a die because they're getting the bonus of I'm in cover. And we're also going to say that he's shooting at triple range. That's a -2. He doesn't lose 2 dice. that means they gain those 2 dice because they're so far back there. Then you do the same thing as before. Check successes. He got 3. They got 3 plus 1. They have 1 more, so they're okay. They did not get hit. They have more. It's kind of like they beat his roll. Okay, now the other thing is, if you run into a tie, let's say this is the situation, number of successes, it's the same as normal combat. So in this case, re-roll it. If they're in a melee, they both take a casualty. If they tie, they cancel each other out like that. So it keeps that in the game. Another thing we found out is we need to have these guys be a little bit more in the system, a little bit more robust. So what we've done is mortals have 1 hit point. So if they get hit, casualty, they're gone. Legends have 2 hit points. So it actually takes 2 hit points to take this guy out. Let me explain how that works. So they do combat, and let's say this was how it came out. They have 1 more, so they did a wound. They possibly did a wound, roll, and we're going to pretend like they got a success here. So, boom, they did a wound to him. He has 2 hit points. Now, they go through some combat more, and again, the same thing happens. 1 success left. I cannot roll a wound. There we go. Causes a wound. When he's going to take his 2nd wound, that's going to take him out of the game. That's when he gets the save, because these are mortals trying to kill a legend. So he's going to get his save. Does he stay in the game? Yes, he does. He's back to 1 hit point. He gets hit again. He's either, if it's a legend or a god hitting him, he's taken out. If it's mortal hitting him, sending him 2nd damage, he's going to, oh, there he failed. He's going to be taken out of the game. Now, they have 1, they have 2, and of course your gods, they have 3. So it's going to be the 3rd damage on them that's going to take him out. And this damage stays. So don't think after this combat's over, that goes away. He still has 1 damage on him for the rest of the game until he's taken out or he's healed. So 1, 2, and 3 hit points. Now the last thing I want to talk about is you have some abilities like Turn Stone or Hammering Blow, which require that if you roll a 1 or maybe a 6, something special happens. So let's look at the situation here. So we have this situation, and he started with 4, then he's larger and he outnumbers them, so he's going to be rolling this, and they're going to roll that, and you know what, let's pretend he has Turn to Stone. Okay, actually, let me get the Medusa. That'd make more sense, wouldn't it? Let me take him out. Let me throw the Medusa up here. So here's Medusa. Now, things are going to change a little bit because Medusa is a combat value of 3, but she does outnumber him. So those 2 dice are gone. So this is what's going to happen. She attacks, they attack. Oh, they rolled a 1. Look, Turn to Stone. He's gone. He's basically turned, no. Because the more dice you roll, the better chance you have of rolling a 1 or a 6 or whatever number they rolled a 6 too. So if that's Hammering Blow, they do the extra and no. So what's going to happen here is whenever you're rolling the dice for this type of combat, you always replace 1 with 1 die that's a different color. And I'm going to re-roll this. This die tells you whether you rolled a 1 or a 6. So it keeps the odds the same. Just like you roll 1 die, did I roll a 1 or a 6? This die is going to tell you. So they're hoping this does not come up a 1. Otherwise, they turn to stone. Rest of it doesn't matter. So rolling, oh, no Turn to Stone because they got that. Medusa goes and gets this. 2 successes, 2 successes. They both cause a wound. I'm going to put this on here. She takes 1. They go back into combat. And they got 2 successes. She's got 2, cause another wound. This was not. And so that might kill her. She's going to do her save. She made her save, so combat still continues. And they got 2. She got 2. Takes him out, and she lives. So forth. That was amazing how that tied up that many times. Normally doesn't happen. So roll a separate die for your combat to know whether you rolled that special number or not. Now for Hammering Blow, let's say these guys have Hammering Blow, And I'm going to go back to this, and they roll a 6 on this. Okay, let's say they do really well, and Medusa does horrible. So this is what Medusa rolled. So she's going to cancel. Oops, that's supposed to be one of these. She's going to cancel this out. So that leaves this. Well, that was that special die that tells you whether or not you got hammering blow. Normally you would roll this for damage, but because this one made it through for the hammering blow, they get an extra die. So this counts as 2 dice instead of 1. It doesn't do anything this one. It's only this one special die, and you get the extra die. So now they're going to roll their damage, and they did 2 to her. Possibly killed her? No. But she's still at 1 hit point. So that's pretty much how we do the combat system. It's a dice pool system. Modifiers add dice, never take dice away. So if it's going to take a dice away from Medusa, it actually adds to them. The hit points, 1, 2, and then gods have 3. And roll 1 die that's a separate color to tell you whether or not, like, you turn to stone or the hammering blow goes into effect or something like that. And that's pretty much how we do the combat system for, oh, there it is, of Gods and Mortals.